The wedding hall shimmered with golden lights, laughter echoing through marble walls, and the scent of white roses filled the air. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. My reflection stared back at me from the vanity mirror, eyes glistening, cheeks flushed with hope. Everything I'd dreamed of was moments away. I could already picture Ethan's face as I walked down the aisle, the man who had once sworn that I was his forever. My heart fluttered with nervous excitement as my best friend Mia adjusted my veil and whispered, "You look perfect, Emily. He's going to lose his mind when he sees you." Perfect. That word echoed in my mind as I smiled at her. I had chased perfection for so long, for Ethan, for us, for the image of a life we built together. But perfection is fragile, and sometimes it breaks in silence before you even realize it's gone. I stood up, smoothing the lace on my robe, ready to see my wedding dress one last time before I put it on. The dress that I had designed myself, every thread sewn with love, every bead placed by hand late into the night, while Ethan worked on his projects at the office. It wasn't just fabric to me. It was my dream stitched into reality. As I walked toward the bridal room, my heels clicking softly against the marble, I heard laughter from inside. Soft feminine laughter. My heart skipped. Maybe it was Mia again, I thought. But when I pushed the door open, the air was stolen from my lungs. There she was, Lila, Ethan's intern, standing in front of the mirror, glowing, smiling, twirling around in my wedding dress. My breath caught in my throat. She looked so comfortable, her hands brushing over the fabric like it was hers to touch, hers to wear. My dress, my dream, my name written on every stitch. "What are you doing?" My voice came out barely above a whisper, trembling with disbelief. Lila jumped back, eyes wide, her smile faltering. "Oh, Emily, I'm so sorry," she stammered. "Ethan said I could try it on, just for a picture. You know, for good luck or something." My stomach twisted. "Ethan said you could—" "What?" Before she could answer, the door opened behind me and there he was, Ethan Blake, the man I was supposed to marry in an hour, holding his phone, grinning as if this was all perfectly normal. "Hey babe," he said casually, stepping inside. "Relax, okay? She just wanted to see how it looks. It's no big deal." I blinked, staring at him in disbelief. "No big deal? She's wearing my wedding dress, Ethan." He sighed, lowering his phone, his smile fading into irritation. Don't start. It's just a dress. Lila has worked so hard for us lately. She coordinated most of this wedding when you were stressed out. She's like family. Like family." The words felt like knives. "Family?" I laughed, but it came out broken. "You gave her my wedding dress, Ethan, the one I designed, the one that's supposed to mean something." He rubbed the back of his neck. "You're overreacting. You always make things bigger than they are." Something inside me cracked. I looked at him, really looked at him, and suddenly saw all the little moments that led here. The late-night texts he'd brushed off as work messages, the sudden change in his tone whenever I walked into a room where she was, the way he stopped saying we and started saying I. My hands trembled as I took a step forward. "Do you even hear yourself? You're defending her while I'm standing here, in my wedding robe, watching her wear the dress I'm supposed to marry you in." He rolled his eyes. "You're being dramatic again, Em. This is exactly why I didn't want a big wedding. You always find a way to turn something small into chaos." Lila tried to speak, her voice shaking. "Ethan, maybe I should—" "Take it off," I said quietly, cutting her off. "Now." Her lips parted, tears forming in her eyes, but she nodded, whispering, "I'm sorry," before rushing toward the dressing screen. I turned to Ethan, and for the first time I saw a stranger. "You made me feel crazy," I said, my voice breaking. "Every time I questioned something, every time I felt you slipping away, you made me believe it was all in my head. But it wasn't, was it?" He looked down, guilt flashing briefly before his pride masked it. "You're not being fair. You know how much pressure I've been under. Lila just helped take the edge off." "The edge off?" My voice rose, shaking with disbelief. "You used me, Ethan. You used everything we built together. I was your partner, not your assistant. And you didn't just cross a line, you erased it." His silence was louder than anything he could have said. I took a deep breath, feeling my heart tear itself apart and rebuild in the same moment. "You know what, Ethan? You're right. It is just a dress. But it's also the last thing you'll ever take from me." I walked past him, ignoring the stares that followed as I made my way out of the hall. Guests turned their heads, whispers spreading like wildfire. The bride is leaving. What happened? She's walking out. But I didn't stop. Every step away from that place felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. The cold evening air hit my skin as I stepped outside, barefoot now, heels abandoned somewhere in that cursed room. The city lights blurred through my tears, but I didn't care. I wasn't running away. I was setting myself free. In the days that followed, the headlines were relentless. Runaway bride leaves architect groom at the altar. My phone never stopped buzzing, calls from family, friends, even Ethan. I didn't answer a single one. For the first time in years, I allowed the silence to heal me. I moved out of our shared apartment, closed my eyes one last time in that space filled with his ghost, and started from zero. I sold my share of the firm, EB Designs, and began again under a new name, Eleanor Atelier. My own name, my own identity. It wasn't glamorous at first. I worked in a small rented studio sewing at midnight, sketching designs on napkins when I couldn't afford proper paper. There were nights I cried on the cold floor, wondering if walking away had been strength or stupidity. But every time I saw my reflection in the mirror, no veil, no tears, just me, I knew I'd done the right thing. Slowly, people began to notice my work. One client became two became 10. My name started appearing in design magazines. And somewhere between exhaustion and rebirth, I learned that heartbreak doesn't destroy you. It introduces you to yourself. Months later, at a design exhibition, I met someone new. Daniel Carter. He didn't ask about Ethan, didn't pity my past. He asked about my dreams. Your designs have a heartbeat, he said, studying my sketches. They tell stories of someone who's been through fire and came out gold. His words stayed with me. He didn't see me as broken. He saw me as becoming. We talked for hours that night about art, pain, and rebuilding, and for the first time since the day I walked out of that wedding hall, I smiled without forcing it. Weeks turned into months, and Daniel became my quiet anchor. He never tried to fix me. He simply stood beside me as I fixed myself. And when he finally held out a small velvet box and said, "You don't owe anyone closure, Emily. You owe yourself peace," I knew I was ready. Inside that box was a simple gold ring. No diamonds, no extravagance. Just one engraving on the inside. You chose you. And I did. I chose myself. Little did I know the universe was about to circle back. The same ballroom, the same chandeliers. But this time, I'd walk in not as the bride who was left behind, but as the woman who became unstoppable. The ballroom glowed with the same golden lights that had once witnessed my heartbreak. But tonight they didn't sting. They shimmered for me. The room was alive with laughter, applause, and champagne glasses clinking in celebration. My name, Emily Blake, echoed through the speakers as the host announced, winner of Best Emerging Design Firm of the Year, Eleanor Atelier. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen, the applause washing over me like waves of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. My heels clicked softly as I walked toward the stage, the hem of my silver gown brushing against the marble floor. Every step was a reminder of the woman who once walked out barefoot, broken, humiliated, and somehow built an empire from her own ashes. As I accepted the award, flashbulbs lit up the hall. I smiled, thanked the audience, and said the words that had become my truth. Sometimes life doesn't take away what you deserve. It removes what was never meant to stay. The crowd erupted in applause, and I felt tears sting my eyes. But then, through the blur of faces and camera flashes, I saw him. Ethan. Standing near the back, in the same ballroom where everything had fallen apart. His expression froze the second our eyes met. The confident man I once loved now looked like a stranger drowning in memories. His tie was loosened, his shoulders slumped, but what caught me most was his gaze, guilt, regret, disbelief, all tangled into one silent apology. For a heartbeat, the air left my lungs. I hadn't seen him in over a year. Part of me thought I'd never have to again. But fate, it seemed, wasn't done playing its game. After the ceremony, I made my way toward the balcony to breathe. The night air was crisp, soft music echoing from inside. I gripped the golden trophy, tracing my name on it, and whispered to myself, "You did it, Emily. You really did." "Emily." A voice came from behind me, soft but unmistakable. I turned, and there he was, Ethan Blake, the man who once told me I was overreacting for caring too much. He looked different now, older, heavier with silence. The confidence that once filled every room he entered was gone. "You look," he hesitated, his voice trembling slightly. "You look incredible." I smiled politely. "Thank you." He took a step closer. "I've been meaning to reach out. I saw your name everywhere, magazines, interviews, awards. You're amazing, Emily, you always were." His words hung in the air, heavy with everything unsaid. "I'm glad you finally noticed," I said softly, turning my gaze toward the city lights. He exhaled, frustration and longing mixing in his tone. "I made mistakes. I didn't realize what I had until you were gone. I thought you'd come back. You always forgave me before." I turned to him, meeting his eyes. "You're right. I always did. But this time, I forgave myself instead." He blinked, the words hitting him harder than he expected. "Emily, I didn't mean to hurt you. That day, it wasn't what it looked like. I thought—" "Don't," I interrupted quietly. "You thought she deserved to wear my dress. You thought my feelings were too much. You thought I'd never walk away. And for a long time, you were right. But that's the thing, Ethan. I stopped being the woman who accepted almost love." He looked down, guilt flickering across his face. "You don't understand, I was scared. You were so ambitious, so determined. I felt like you were leaving me behind." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "You gave my wedding dress to your intern because you were scared I'd outgrow you?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The silence was enough. Then his eyes fell on my hand, the gold band glimmering under the moonlight. His voice faltered. "That ring, it's new." I nodded. "Yes, it's from Daniel." "Daniel Carter?" His voice cracked slightly. "You're with him?" "I am," I said simply, my tone calm. "He believed in me when no one else did. When everyone thought I was the bride who ran away, he saw the woman who was learning how to fly." Ethan swallowed hard. "So you're married now?" I smiled. Happily. For a moment neither of us spoke. The music from inside drifted through the air. Soft piano, laughter, joy. The same kind of joy I used to dream of sharing with him. But standing there, I realized how different it felt now. This peace wasn't born from someone else's love. It came from finally choosing myself. "You really moved on," he said finally, his voice breaking. "I didn't move on, Ethan," I said, meeting his eyes. "I grew up." The words sank between us, heavy and final. He stared at me, searching for the woman he used to know, the one who would have cried, pleaded, forgiven. But she wasn't there anymore. The Emily who stood before him was someone he could never hurt again. "Emily," he whispered, his voice shaking, "do you ever think about what we could have been?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "But then I remember what we were, and that's enough to know I never want to go back." He looked away, his jaw tight, his eyes glistening with unspoken regret. For a brief second, I felt a flicker of sadness, not for him but for the girl I used to be. The one who loved too deeply, too blindly. Just then, a familiar voice broke the tension. "Everything okay, love?" I turned, and there he was, Daniel. Tall, composed, warm eyes that carried calm instead of chaos. He placed a gentle hand on my waist, the kind of touch that didn't claim me but cherished me. "Everything's fine," I said, smiling. "Just closing an old chapter." Ethan's gaze darted between us, his expression a mixture of disbelief and heartbreak. He opened his mouth, as if to say something, but no words came out. The reality of it, the finality, settled in his eyes. Daniel nodded politely to him, then turned to me. "They're asking for you inside. The press wants a few more photos." "Of course," I said, then looked at Ethan one last time. "Take care of yourself." He didn't respond, just stood there frozen, staring at the ring that glinted under the light. The same ring that reminded me every day of who I became after losing him. As Daniel led me back inside, the sound of applause filled the room again. People congratulated me, cameras flashed, and for the first time, I felt completely at home in my own skin. We danced under the chandeliers, his hand steady on my back, his eyes soft with pride. I caught my reflection in the mirror, a woman who had walked through heartbreak and come out shining. The silver gown I wore wasn't just fabric, it was armor woven from lessons and scars. Somewhere behind me, I saw Ethan still standing by the balcony door watching. But I didn't feel anger. I didn't even feel sadness. Just a quiet gratitude that his betrayal had pushed me toward the life I was meant to live. Sometimes, closure doesn't come from apologies or explanations. It comes from standing in the same place that once broke you, and realizing it no longer has power over you. As the music slowed, Daniel leaned close and whispered, "What are you thinking about?" I smiled. That some endings are actually beginnings in disguise. He kissed my forehead, and in that moment I knew I had finally healed. Not because I found someone new, but because I had found myself. Behind me, the man who once thought I couldn't survive without him stood silent, watching the woman he'd underestimated turn into everything she was always meant to be. And when his eyes fell on my ring one last time, he froze, because he finally understood. The happiest revenge isn't making them miss you, it's becoming someone they'll never deserve again.